This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Coveil. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. Today on the show, I have Lewis Howes. Lewis is a lifestyle entrepreneur. And don't let the title confuse you. He's just like me. He wants to make things happen. He's done it his way. He's got a wealth of different experiences, from starting new businesses to being a pro athlete. Lewis has done a lot of everything. In fact, he's training right now to be on the U.S. Olympic team for handball. And I wish him the best with that. That'd be awesome. An awesome dream to possibly achieve. Anyways, a great conversation. Two guys talking about entrepreneurship. So listen, here's where I want to go today. I want to jump right in and lifestyle entrepreneur. And so when you use the term lifestyle entrepreneur, where are you coming from for the people out there that maybe hear that term for the first time?
Where I'm coming from is it kind of all starts back when I played professional football. And when I got to play pro football for a very short amount of time, and I wasn't even good enough to make it the NFL. I only played in the Arena Football League. But I had this amazing lifestyle. My whole childhood, my dream was to get paid to play sports. And when I had that dream come true by playing professional football, it was unbelievable. It was like wake up around 9:30, go to practice for 2 hours, go lift for a couple hours after that, do like a swimming workout or some type of like stretching, and then I had the rest of the day off. And then I got to play games on the weekend, and I got a paycheck once a week. And for me, I got to do exactly what I loved every single day, hang out with a bunch of cool guys, and then have all this free time and get paid to do it. And I thought, holy crap. When I got injured and had to retire, I was like, how can I translate this and repeat this for the rest of my life without having to do the traditional go get a job, get a good degree, get a job, and work somewhere. And for me, there was no turning back. After I tasted it, there was like, I had to figure out a way to make money. And I didn't know how to make money. I was kind of like, my whole high school and college, career, all I did in the summers was practice, and train. My dad was like, just train your butt off. And because he knew my goal was to play pro sports. So he was like, just train. Don't worry about getting a job. I pretty much, I worked maybe like a few hours here and there doing some like moving or whatever to make $40 to $60 a day. But I didn't really have like a 9 to 5 ever. So when I retired, I was like, I need to figure out a way to make money on autopilot, basically, around doing something that I love. And for me, it's always been around about living the exact lifestyle and then building the business around that, not finding out how do I make money and then have a few hours every night to go party or 2 weeks a year to go have the life I want, but how do I have the life I want every single day? So every day feels like a Saturday.
Let me interject on you for a second, because I know you had the tough injury. You had to stop from the injury. Yep. So I guess one of the things I want to ask about is I played baseball, a small school, in my first year in college, and then I kind of just said, I'm not going to be pro at this, so I'm not going to keep doing it. But there was a devastating depression to stop playing sports after over a decade, specifically doing one thing as a baseball catcher. So how long did I know you're going to talk about it some today. I know you're still involved in sports, but how long when you had to stop, did it just eat at you? Or were you able to get around that quickly?
How long did
you, when you had to stop playing and you knew you weren't going to play anymore, football?
Did it take?
How long did it take before it really just didn't eat at you anymore?
I mean,
it was your life.
It kind of still eats at me today, to be honest. No, that was back in 2007, August 27th of 2007. I had surgery, and so what is that? 6 years ago, I guess. Every football season that came around, I still got offers last year to go play arena football, and like considered doing it just for fun. So for me, it's like, it was devastating for probably the first year, 2 years, next 2 seasons. Then I started to make money in other ways after a couple of years. And once I started to make money, it started to hurt a lot less. But yeah, it was really devastating though.
Some of those same, and I don't know if I can necessarily describe them on this podcast, but some of those same feelings that you have in sports as an entrepreneur appear.
Yeah. I wouldn't be where I am today without sports in the business world, that's for sure. And I attribute all the lessons I learned in sports to what I've been able to create in my entrepreneurial life, hands down. I mean, really the competitiveness and the drive. I think you know what it is? It's the willingness to sacrifice. I've been willing to sacrifice so much since football's been over that I'm willing to sacrifice anything more than anyone else is willing to.
Okay, what's sacrifice to you today? People out there are listening and maybe they know about you, Lewis, maybe they don't, but they hear somebody say the word sacrifice. Quantify that. What does that mean to you?
I mean, I think it just means like do whatever it takes, get as uncomfortable as I need to get the result I want. And most people that I know aren't willing to be uncomfortable, or they aren't willing to sacrifice their time or certain commitments or their energy, or traveling somewhere on a bus and sleeping in a hostel to do whatever it takes to get to the right event, and sleeping with 20 Europeans that are throwing up all over the place, doing whatever it takes, sleeping in the streets of Philadelphia at 5 a.m. because I didn't have enough money to find another hostel because they kicked me out. You know, whatever it takes to connect with the right people, to learn the right things, to figure out what it's going to take for me to build my business. I was willing to do that, and still am willing to do that today, to achieve my goals. And my goals originally was to get off my sister's couch, because that's where I was sleeping for a year and a half while I was recovering from football. It was to meet my basic needs of just paying my own rent, being able to afford my own food, and have enough gas for my own car. That's my original goals. They've evolved over time from basic needs to ego, which was wanting to be acknowledged or achieve certain things, to now it's my intention has really shifted. Now that I've got my basic needs met, I live comfortably. It's more about impact and how can I inspire and evoke change in other people so that they can live a certain lifestyle as well.
I think one of the ways you can definitely inspire is, so you're sitting on that couch, you've had major surgery on your wrist. You kind of don't really know what direction you're going to go. You've got the competitiveness in you. Okay, what triggers a change in you? What do you read? What do you see? Who do you talk to? What starts the process?
You know, I think I've always been a seeker. I've always been a seeker of information and inspiration. As a kid, I was always just like, I wanted to be around the best because that's who I wanted to learn from. The people that I aspired to be like, I was drawn to them. For me, someone that I was drawn to a lot of people early on. It was successful speakers, it was successful business owners and authors, and people who were doing like big things online at the time. And Tim Ferriss was one of the early on guys that I was drawn to. I read his book when I was in my cast, actually recovering. It was during Christmas that year. And I read his book, 4 Hour Work Week. And it was a huge eye opener for me. I didn't necessarily agree with the whole book, but I was just like, wow, this allows me to see what is possible. I reached out to a number of different key mentors, people that I didn't know were going to be my mentors, but that I was seeking this information and just reaching out to people I aspired to be like, and pretty much just bugged the crap out of them for months and months. Worked for them for free, did whatever it took to be around them. Because I thought if I could be around these people, I could pick it up. I could learn quickly. Just like in a sport, if they taught me something, I would learn it really quick, apply it in the real world, just like practicing in football. You know, be ready for the big game whenever it comes up. And that's how my whole mentality was. It was just, who are my coaches? Just like in football or track. Who can I find as my coaches in life? How can I get them to coach me? How can I get to be on their team? And what's the practice I need to go through every single day to learn what they've learned? And then how can I apply it to take massive action to build up what I need to create for my life, to win, right? To win in life.
So I kind of interrupted you a little bit there when I was asking about lifestyle entrepreneur. Why don't you define maybe for the audience some key, and I'm asking you to brag a little bit post-football now. I'm asking you to kind of brag about some of the entrepreneurial achievements you've had. And because I think it's really important. Look, myself, yourself, we've not had the same success, for example, online that a Tim Ferriss has had, but we both have had some nice success. So we can both relate on a lot of different levels and a lot of different things that we've seen online. But I'd like for you just to define for the audience a little bit some of the things that you've been involved in where you've seen some nice success.
Yeah, sure. And again, my shift is into impact more than achievement based now, but I'm happy to share. I've written a couple books. I've spoken on stage with, Richard Branson's, Tim Ferriss's, all those type of people. I've received an award for being a top 100 entrepreneur under 30 in the country by the White House. I built a multi-million-dollar business from my bedroom.
I know you're not comfortable doing this, so I can feel it in your voice. It's all right.
The old me a couple of years ago would have been like listing this off like left and right. I would have had it all memorized, but it's really shifted for me from wanting to achieve certain things. I wanted to be a #1 New York Times bestseller and be on the cover of magazines. And sure, it's still nice to like get those things, but for me, it's really shifted from that to my message and my vision and my purpose. And the impact that I leave in people's lives and their results. That's more like the accomplishment that I want to like talk about is like, okay, I've inspired 1 million people to go from poverty to 6, 7, 7 figures. Like to me, that would be a cool accomplishment. And so that's my mission now is coming from that place as opposed to the achievements. But you still got to put the stuff on the bio so people can see that you're credible, I guess, right?
Yeah. Do I insult you if I say something to the effect that you sound like a certain ambition and passion towards being a new generation Anthony Robbins? Is that
I would take that. But towards entrepreneurship, I'm open to anything. It's all about inspiring the most amount of people to see a change in their lives. So that they can have what I have and then some. For me, I feel like one of the luckiest guys in the world. I feel so blessed and so grateful every single day. I may not live in a mansion in the Hollywood Hills, and it's not really what I want, but I have exactly what I want, and I feel a certain way every single day. And for me, the feeling that I get to have every day is more important than any physical things, because physical things really don't matter to me as much. I could buy pretty much whatever I want, except for a jet. And
those are expensive.
That's coming, hopefully. But it just doesn't feed me. It doesn't make me feel better by having things. What makes me feel good is knowing that I'm giving 100% every day in my life, in my vision, in my like purpose, and always following my dreams, never sacrificing my dreams for anything else. And I think that's a big part for me of my definition of a lifestyle entrepreneur is always going after your biggest and scariest dreams. Because if we're not chasing our dreams on a daily basis, there's always going to be a sense of like missing out or emptiness or unfulfilled. And it doesn't matter for me anymore to achieve all my dreams. Like one of my big goals is to play in the Olympics. And I think I even mentioned this when we met at Tim Ferriss's event a couple of years ago. I was like, I'm gonna go play in the Olympics in 2012. It didn't happen, but I'm on the USA Olympic national team. I made
handball, right?
Yeah, Olympic handball, team handball. And at that time, I wasn't on the team. So for me, it's all about the pursuit of the dream and the journey of the dream. And as long as I'm on the pursuit of my biggest dreams and I'm giving it everything I've got, I'm happy. And because I always know I'm going after what I want, as opposed to living someone else's dream, which is going to work at some job and build someone else's empire. For me, I want to build my empire and build my dreams. And so that's kind of what I'm up to.
Let me throw a thought out and see how you feel about this. I've had a chance in my lifetime to have a little success, and I've met those kinds of basic goals as a young man. You say, "Hey, I want to achieve 7 figures," and all that kind of fun stuff. And I've also had a chance to have some peers that have achieved 7 figures times 1,000. And I think it's really dangerous. It's really dangerous for entrepreneurs out there just starting out to say, my goal is to make $1 billion. Because the statistics of it say, you know what, my friend, that's more luck then it's something you set out to do. There's not that many people on the planet ever that have achieved that much wealth. And if you really did a case study as to how they did it, there were opportune breaks that just happened to happen. That doesn't take anything away from those men and women either. It's just saying it's a really tough goal to say, I want to make $1 billion.
Yeah. And I think the next question is why? And that's the most important question is why do you want to make $1 billion? And people usually don't know, they don't have a good enough reason why. I think when I find out people's goals, I really want to know the why. And usually when you ask them the why and they start talking about it, their goal changes because their why isn't strong enough for them to have the willingness to sacrifice, to do what it takes to achieve the goal. And so that's why people say they have these goals over and over for 10, 20 years and they never start they don't even start to try and achieve it because the why isn't strong enough. For me, originally, the why was like, I just want to feel like a grown man that can stand on his own 2 feet and not off of his sister to get enough money to have my own place. Like, that was my why. So it was strong enough for me to like scratch and pull and do whatever I could to like make $5,000 a month because I was like starving. And I think once people figure out their why, like $1 billion, like that's, again, like you said, that's a lot of work and it's a lot of luck. You may not sleep.
And why? And why? What if you had it? If you had it, what does it do for you?
What are you going to do? Yeah, you
sit on an island. You sit on an island with an audience. What does it do?
Exactly. And I think when the why is pure enough, the goal will happen much more. I just believe it'll happen. It's much more probable that it will happen.
What do people sometimes, when you put them on the spot, because it's an interesting way. I mean, I didn't tell you I was going to ask that particular question, but it was a great response. When you're talking to people and counseling young entrepreneurs and people that want to get to the place where they can wake up and they're not working for the boss man, they're making their own choices, they're paying their own bills, and they want to get there, and they've got all these visions out there that are way past the basics of just one foot in front of the other, and they start to talk about maybe these visions of large amounts of money, and you ask why, and you said people's answers will change. What usually happens when they go down that path when you start talking with someone?
Well, I think people originally come from a place of ego. Our egos are strong, and mine's really strong, so it always comes up. I get to be aware of it when it does and shift out of it. Otherwise, it'll control me, and it'll control like my emotions. It'll control my angers or whatever it may be. So the key is to always be aware of the ego and see, why do you want money, or why do you want this achievement, or why do I want to become a New York Times bestseller? Why? When I ask those questions, I think people start to shift from like, oh, I really want to help people. And they start thinking of like, why? And they're like, well, actually, yeah, I really want to help people, inspire people in fitness. Or I really want to see people lose 100 pounds like I did. Or I really want to see whatever. There's some reason why. Like, I really want to see people cure this disease. And when you get past the ego and you figure out the why, the real why, people start to shift and they start to see like what they really want in life and what really matters to them. And it's not about the money, usually. That's just what they think they want because they've been brainwashed to believe it. But when you get past people's walls and you dig deeper and you really see what is important to them in their lives, and that's when I feel like people's goals shift. Like in 10-minute conversation, you can pretty much have someone say, I really want to just make a lot of money, to, you know what, I really want to like educate people on healthy eating and working out the right way, because if they can eat the right way and work out the right way, then they're really to be happier. Nice. There you are. It's good to see you finally,
How important is it for you to be an entrepreneur versus not being an entrepreneur?
I mean, it's huge because I can't see myself working for anyone else ever. Once I've got a taste of it, it's just ultimate freedom, ultimate lifestyle, and ultimate choice and decision. And I choose to do whatever I want every single day, as opposed to being forced to go into a place in order to receive a paycheck. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people may want to work on a team that's much bigger than what they can create and be a part of like this movement or this something bigger than themselves. For me, I want to create that thing that's bigger than myself, as opposed to be on someone else's team to do that. And I want to build that. I want to build the team that can do that, because my vision is strong And I just believe if I was working for someone else, my vision would be stronger and I would have to leave because I wouldn't think they would do as much as I would do. So for me, it's ultimate freedom, ultimate flexibility. It's like being a pro athlete. It's just like I get to do what I love every single day, and get paid to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go this way for a second. Your podcast. So I started my podcast January of 12. I won't say, I won't say on a, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, was it January 12? Yeah, January of 12. Same month?
Yeah, end of January 2012.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no. Sorry. This is 2013, right?
Yes.
I started mine in 2013. I swear, I never know what day it is or year it is because every day is like Saturday to me. So it's so weird to.
I know that. Yeah. I know that feeling.
I started this year, 2013.
So starting that, I'm not going to say I started on a lark, but I just decided that I'd done a lot of interviews over the years but never public ones. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm sure you're going to say the same thing, or you're probably going to have even a way to expand on this, but the feeling of communicating with people. And for me, like when I'm talking to you, right now I'm talking, but I'm not trying to just toot my own horn. I want to put you in a place to where you can shine and give your experience to the audience, and so they can learn something new. The audience hears enough of my nonsense. I want to let them hear from someone else. Talk to me about your experience with doing your podcast, though. I'm sure it's been life-changing for you as well.
That's probably the most exciting thing I've got going on right now. And that might sound either lame or really cool. I don't know. But for me, it's the most exciting thing I've got going on just because I've been able to connect with, I don't know, over 30 people now who are either good friends or people I've wanted to connect with and really do exactly what you're doing. And you're probably the best person I've ever had interview me. So I really appreciate it.
Hold on. We'll come back to the why you think I'm the best, but continue.
But it's cool. I mean, there's a number of reasons why I wanted to start a podcast, because I really wanted to tap into a larger audience and really tap into the iTunes audience and tap into the audience that drives every day to work or drives somewhere or works out and listens to podcasts. Because I didn't know how many people would actually listen until I started promoting it, until I started getting going. And then I realized I still get emails every single day from people that are just like, man, I've listened to every episode and I've listened to some twice, and I listen to it when I work out, or every Monday morning I listen to it on my ride to work, and it inspires me to do something on the side, and it always fires me up and gets me motivated, and I'm inspired, and I'm just like, yes, that's what I wanted to do. So it's always fun for me to like read these emails and these comments and tweets and get pictures on Instagram from people posting where they're listening to it. It shows me what's possible. It also allows me to connect, like you said, with some of the most inspiring business and Olympic athlete minds in the world and share their message to my audience and to a broader audience that may not have access to those answers. And I feel like I'm asking the type of questions that they're never asked on interviews in, mainstream interviews. So I really get to dive into like how they got to where they are, their success. And then also for me, it's, I guess, I get to build a relationship with those individuals as well and promote them and support them. And for me, my life is all about relationships. It's all about connections. Without connections, I would have nothing. So for me, it's about building this amazing mastermind of people that I can call my friends and support, and then and learn from them. And it's been so powerful.
There's a great, you got to listen to this. There's a great interview. Howard Stern talks to Jerry Seinfeld, June of 2013. It's on YouTube. And they're both just talking about the craft. Seinfeld's talking about the craft of comedy. Stern's talking about the craft of radio. And Stern says something that's really telling on there. And he says, my success in radio didn't really take off until, and I'm paraphrasing, I really forgot that I was talking to anybody. I wasn't thinking anymore. I was just going. And Lewis, if you listen to most of my interviews with people, there's almost a magic moment. And I don't know if you've seen this in yours, and I do these long form things, usually close to an hour. And at about a halfway point, people start to click and they seemingly just forget that they're even being interviewed. Have you seen that?
It's like when they start to really relax, and they're not trying to like have the perfect answer anymore. They're just flowing. that's always cool when and then you stop thinking about the next question. It just kind of flows with you, you know?
Yeah, it just becomes a conversation. So, okay. Exactly. So to would-be podcasters that want to start out there, and of course, I'm putting you on the spot because I don't give you any of these questions in advance. What are some of the things from your perspective, close to 40 shows in, and some really, people go check your podcast out on iTunes. There's some top-notch folks on there. So what are some of the lessons that you have learned?
For someone who wants to become a podcaster?
Yeah.
One is to just start. One is to create a simple game plan, but really just get it out there. Start with 5 episodes and launch them. I think that's what I did. I had 5 or 6 episodes and launched them. And if you try to think about the perfect show name and the perfect design and this and that and having the audio perfect, then you're never going to get it out in 6 months. So my audio, the first like 5 or 6 is really average, if that, at best. And there's probably a lot of moments where you like can't hear something. And part of me is like, I wish I could go back and change those and make them better because it doesn't really support my brand. At the same time, like I wouldn't have launched it if I was trying to fix it all the time and if I was trying to make it perfect. So one is to just get a few episodes and launch it. And don't worry about the design, the sound quality as much. Make it good enough so that you can hear it. But don't worry about it if it's a little things here and there, and launch it. The second thing would be to always tweak and make it better. Like I hired an editing producer early on. So if you have some money, I'm assuming your audience is people that have like a decent amount of at least disposable income, hire someone to edit your podcast. For me, it would take me hours and hours to do this stuff if I had to edit it and add the music and make it sound good. Even if I had all the time in the world, I'm not that good at that type of thing. So find someone who's good at that, edit it, and let them do the rest of the work. So for me, all I want to focus on is finding my guests, figuring out what I want to ask them, and then interviewing them, and then sending it off to my editor. My editor does everything. He puts in the music, he edits it, he tweaks it, it takes out whatever the dead area is, and then he uploads it to Libsyn, which then puts it on my blog, and then goes to iTunes and everywhere else. Third thing would be to promote it. Really promote it hard in the first 8 weeks because you want to be on the top of the iTunes new and noteworthy section. If you promote it in those first 8 weeks, then you'll stay at the top.
Yeah, it's been an experience, and I don't. Once you start, I mean, how do you stop? I mean, the only thing that goes on in my head these days is when do I go live?
Yeah, exactly. My thing is I've been doing on average about once a week, but now this week I'm going to start doing 2 a week because I've just seen tremendous growth, downloads, and people just begging me for more. So I'm like, okay, let's see if I can do 2 a week and see where it goes.
Yeah. I started off doing mine mostly talking to traders, and in the last 2-3 weeks, I've kind of diversified our conversation today. But in the last week, I've talked to a Major League Baseball players agent, represents a dozen guys. I've talked to the guy who's trying to drive his car over 1,000 miles an hour on the ground. Wow. So but it's amazing the connections to risk taking and opportunity. It doesn't make a difference what people choose. This entrepreneurial way is really where exciting people and exciting things are happening.
Yes, it is. In my mind, it's fun because it's not the same thing every single day either. So you're always mixing it up. And the key to happiness is not repeating the same thing every day. It's always, it's doing something different. It's like the spice of life is the key to happiness. It's one of the keys. So as opposed to taking you can do simple things, put your shoes on with your other hand, or tie your shoes and brush your teeth with your other hand than you do normally, and take a different route to work, whatever it may be. But doing something different every single day is one of the keys to happiness. This has been documented. This is fact. This is proven. As an entrepreneur, at least in my instance, I never do the same thing twice. Sure, I do a podcast and this and that, but it's with different people. It's always something different. And I think that's why I just feel like every day is Saturday. It's always fun day, So given your athletic background, your current athletic background, forget the football ending injury, your current background, I want to ask you, so somebody you've had a chance to talk to a lot of people that are involved in fitness, a lot of fitness in your life and still ongoing. So the person that's sitting out there right now
who is not going down the fitness path. And we know, you and I both know, and the audience knows that
all the trader friends,
the waistlines across this world are getting big. And it's really sad across Asia to see KFC and Pizza Hut everywhere. But so for the person that's sitting out there that maybe just they might hear your voice, they hear your story, maybe they think that you're going to, something might transform, where can they start? What's the best place to start for somebody who is a 25 or a 35 or a 45-year-old male, female, and they've not done anything for a long time? What's the best way to get started to where they can stay motivated? Because those results are going to keep you motivated. How do you counsel people on that, Louis?
I like to just take dramatic instant action and go into full force training and cut out like all these different things in your diet. But a lot of people aren't willing to, they don't have the desire strong enough to keep that up and sustain it. So they're not willing to sacrifice that long. They might try it for a week, but then it's too much for them because they don't have the desire. So for someone who has a desire and just wants to do something simple to get started, to see the results. I did an experiment a couple years ago when I was living in New York. I had gotten to 254 pounds, I think. And my whole, college football career, I was like around 215, 220. And I always wanted to get to 250 of muscle, but I couldn't put it on. When I moved to New York, I just started gaining more and more because I was out to eat all day. And I got to 254 and people started calling me Fluis for Fat Louis. I remember when I reached over 250, I was like, okay, something's got to change because my face is twice the size and my gut is big. And I just couldn't see myself like that anymore. So what I realized is I was addicted to, and I think most people are in some way, are addicted to sugar. I was eating sugar all the time and I didn't even know it. I would eat a lot of sweets and candy throughout the day, but then I was just having sugar in everything. So one of the things I did was I cut out sugar. I was like, I'm going to not have sugar for a week and see what that does. So I still ate like an apple every day or two, but all refined sugars I completely cut out. So no sweets, no chocolates, ice creams, milkshakes, none of that stuff. It wasn't in any food and no coffee, nothing. Cut it out for a week. It was one of the hardest things I ever did because I realized it was like a drug for me and I was addicted to it. And then I decided that I was going to do it for a month. After the week, I was like, all right, I'm going to do another week and another week. And I did it for a full month, not changing anything else. I would say I cut out probably 80% of my gluten intake as well. I was still having a little bit here and there, but I focused on not eating it. So no sugar, mostly no gluten, no breads or anything like that, no pastas. I lost 28 pounds in 28 days, and I didn't do anything different from working out. I was still working out my normal days. I was actually doing CrossFit, pretty hard before then, but I wasn't losing weight. I was gaining weight. So I stayed the same workout routine, just cut out sugar. In 28 days, lost 28 pounds and was back down at 220. So for me, that's something you can do to start. Give yourself an experiment of 30 days. Okay, what I'm going to do is one thing. I'm going to cut out pop. If you drink lots of pop, cut it out. If you eat fast food, cut it out completely. If you drink coffee, cut it out. Do something to cut one thing out for 30 days. Continue the workout routine. Like, don't just not work out. Continue doing whatever you do physically and see what you can create.
I love that advice. So I love that. One more thing I've got to ask you though, because I saw this in one of your podcasts, and I think it dovetails nicely into your advice you just gave right there, which is the concept of sleep. If there's one thing that I've learned in the last 15 years is managing my sleep. And sometimes people will laugh at me. They're like, well, you're so worried about getting 8 hours of sleep at least. But why don't you expand on it? Because I think you've probably done more homework than my unscientific views on sleep. Sure. But sleep is terribly important.
If not the most important thing that I've realized. I just started to realize this after I interviewed sleep expert on my show. I actually watched half of this documentary called Happy last night. I've seen it a couple times, but I wanted to rewatch it to find someone I wanted to interview. If you find this documentary, I think it's on Netflix still. It's called Happy, or you can download it on iTunes. They're talking about people that live happy lives all over the world. They were documenting people that live happy lives, people that are like poor in the slums in India who have no teeth and walk on a rickshaw all day long carrying people, but have this amazing happiness. And then they were showing people somewhere in Japan, an island off Japan, I forget the name of it, and I'm not even going to try to butcher it, but a small island off Japan has the most 100-year-olds per capita in the world, the most 100-year-olds per capita in the world. And they were interviewing these old women, these 100-year-old women who looked like 70, had so much energy and happiness in life. And one of them said, the key to living a very long life is going to bed early and sleeping in and sleeping a lot throughout the day, taking naps and just sleeping and being very rested. She said that was the key to her longevity and happiness, was getting this sleep. Now, whether, she didn't have any scientific proof. She was just like, I'm 107 years old, and this is how I've been living my life. And this is how everyone else who's over 100 lives their life. We all go to bed at like 9 or 10, the latest, sleep in, and then sleep throughout the day. I think it's important, and it makes sense. I mean, and my other friend who's a sleep expert that I had on was talking about sleep debt. He said you can't repay sleep debt. If you're up till 4 a.m. every night and waking up at 7 to trade stocks every morning, and you do that for years, you can't sleep extra to repay what the damage you've done to your body and to your mind and your system. It makes sense. And so my key has been balancing it. I never had that concept before a few months ago, and I would just always work. I was like, I'm just going to hustle because this is my goal, it's my vision, and so I'm just going to work my butt off to get what I want. But now I realize, hey, if I want to be at my highest capacity throughout the day, then I need to get my sleep no matter what. And it sounds like you've already achieved that understanding, which is pretty cool.
Well, it's a little more boring, I have to admit, but look, I've got a few years on you, so I have to manage it. You'll be up there soon enough. That's the one thing about time. It marches on for everybody. So
I just hit 30, and so it's like everything has shifted. Like for some reason, right when I hit 30, a lot of my ideas started to change and just started to I created some awareness. I don't know if everyone feels that at 30 or what, but it was really interesting.
Oh yeah, once you're out of the 20s, there's no more excuses for anything. It's like
exactly.
So hey, listen, I enjoy this today and this is exactly what I wanted to have happen, because two entrepreneurs that have both self-starters, and I'm not trying to brag for either of us, but self-starters, and I wanted people just to hear a conversation back and forth about big things, about little things, because I think so many of these issues that we've talked about today are huge struggles for people. I mean, there's people out there that maybe they're listening. Well, these two guys are talking about being entrepreneurs, and they've worked for somebody for 20 years. They're scared to death about taking the first step. Mm-hmm. And I think the key thing is for people just to hear rational, reasonable conversation about people that did it. And look, I'm not saying it's easy to be an entrepreneur, but the rewards, the feelings of satisfaction, for me, you mentioned it earlier, I can never work for anybody either. And so I appreciate you for being on today. Yeah. And hey,
I want to add one thing to that. I want to add one thing to that, actually. I just had a conversation yesterday with a guy who has been listening to podcasts for the last 6 years and been buying courses and been consuming this information about how to build an online business and be an entrepreneur and do something you love. And he continues to consume. And he still works for this other company and makes good money, but he's not fully excited about it. So for 6 years, he's just been consuming, and he keeps talking about what he wants to do, but he never takes action. So what I want to do actually is create a challenge for everyone listening right now to get you guys to move to doing something. And whatever it is you've been thinking about for years or months about what do you want to do on the side or how you want to take your game to the next level. I'm assuming most of your listeners are in the stock world. Is that right?
I don't know. That's a good question. Audience, who are you? I don't know. They're all over. They're all over the world. I know that much.
I want you to upload a video to YouTube. And here's what I want you to do first. We'll make it simple. I want you to upload a video to YouTube, which usually scares a lot of people by putting themselves out there because they have to have the perfect camera and edit it and they can look perfect. I want you to make it as ugly looking as possible and as silly looking as possible if you have to. Whatever it takes to get it up. Just so you experience taking the action of doing something that's uncomfortable. And if you haven't taken action on your goals or your dreams yet, then this is just going to be the first steps. In 2 minutes or less, talk about the dream the goal that you want to have outside of what you're currently doing. So if you're already working for someone, or if you're doing something you're not passionate about, then what is your passion that you want to start creating a lifestyle around? I want you to upload that and tag Michael, or tag something. I don't know how we're going to do this, but tag Michael in there and tweet it to Michael or email to him or whatever it may be, and tell him what your passion and your dream is that you're going to start working on. So you're going to create the game plan for yourself. Michael's not going to give it to you. I'm not going to give it to you. You're going to come up with a game plan. Whether it's, I'm going to launch a school for teaching people how to play guitar online, and I'm going to do lessons once a week. I'm going to give away free videos on YouTube, and this is what I'm going to do. And then from there, it's going to grow into a business. Whatever your dream is, your real passion is about living a lifestyle around the business that you want to create, put that up online for 2 minutes. Yeah, best way is lewishowes.com, and I've got all my information there, and you can find me. It's Lewis Howes everywhere online, and also my podcast, School of Greatness, on iTunes as well.
Listen, I wish you the best of luck. I think you've got the FM voice, so you're ready to go on that. And you're reminding me about how much I miss my Naumann mic. The Germans do very well on their mics. But listen, enjoy the. Is it sunny in LA today? I'm jealous.
It's a little cloudy this morning. I've got an amazing view. I'm looking over all the Hollywood Hills in downtown and West Hollywood right now, and it's a little cloudy, but it actually makes the sky look beautiful as the sun is coming up. So it's I'm very blessed and grateful.
Hey, listen, go have a good day, and hopefully we'll talk again in the near future.
Thanks so much, Michael.
Take care, Lewis.
I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.